All right, and we're live. The one and only Sean Bauer. Here we are, Thursday, November November 20th. How we doing, man?
Doing great. We are recording this while there is a game on TV, so
First time ever.
we are watching the Bills and the Texans as this records. So if we have any reactions live, you will know why. Because kind of an intriguing game. Texans aren't bad, and the Bills are the Bills, and my matchup it's very relevant. Um, Jenny's got Josh Allen, and I got Woody Marks. So
That's yeah. Oh, it's fun, man. This time of year is the best, right? So we got down to 3 weeks to go before playoff times. Standings are tight. Basically, what do we got? An 8-man race for 6 spots.
well, pretty much a 7-man race for 5 spots. Jenny has locked up a playoff spot. So
Yeah, well said. 11-0 somehow, some way.
great defense.
Great defense, man. It matters. It matters. So we've had a lot of trades too. So kind of what we're gonna do is run through the trades real quick, and then we're gonna jump into the power rankings and maybe look at some matchups. So let's do this thing. All right, so we won't spend a ton of time on a lot of these, but just to break down, it's been an active trade season. I have to go back and look at, but this might be tops towards the top ever. I mean, it's been active.
I feel like this has definitely been the most active because you had early season trades. Obviously, you had a couple moves this week. And I think it's mostly because you have 8 teams all in contention, and that includes the Empire pot. And so people are trying to not let me win, which is what you should do. So very active, very fun, very interesting. Yeah, it should be a great close of the season. So let's take a look at some of these moves.
All right, so we got to go back in time a little bit. October 14th, like over a month ago now, but a typical break trade here with all the different draft picks. So Leon sends over Olave and Sutton. Broik sends over Shakir and Hunter, 3rd, 5th, 13th for an 8th, 9th, 12th. Olave's been kind of in and out, hasn't he? Or has he
Olave,
been good?
he's I don't know how he's been since they made the quarterbacks, which I think they had a bye 1 week. But when it was Rattler in there, I mean, Olave was just a target monster.
Yeah.
So especially since we get half points for reception, he was, racking up points that way. But he's been pretty good. Cortland Sutton, I feel like I think it just goes to the Broncos offense in general.
Yeah.
It's been pretty disappointing. So
It's the Troy Franklin show over there now. And then, yeah, unfortunately Hunter, is out. So that's an interesting one a month later. Next we had a big trade between Losses and I. I'm sending my second to him for CeeDee Lamb, get a 6 back. Just felt like I needed some more power to keep up with you big dogs. Haven't had he's been solid. I'm hoping that down the stretch here, now that he's back and healthy and rolling, that he can put up some big games as we make a playoff push. And then Mr. Cassell found this old pick. This is from the old VFW baseball days. You are able to acquire Ladd McConkey, setting the first, getting the 3rd rounder back. McConkey really started heating up.
yeah, it's a good move. I didn't realize that was a 1st-round pick in that, though.
Yeah. I mean, this is real deal.
That's pretty impressive there.
Jake's not afraid to be bold. We've seen him before. He's a star. Just look at his jersey. This is actually me behind him, but I cut myself out because this isn't all about me. All right, moving on. I found this picture of Jenny, and then this one is just great. Mortel. But a little Minnesota Vikings receiver swap here. I wonder how they feel about this now with McCarthy not looking super sharp, and both of them are kind of had some down weeks, but made the move regardless. So Jenny gets an upgrade there in theory.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by this one. I had my eyes on Jefferson too, but I wanted to wait. I needed to see him with McCarthy a couple more times. So who knows? And then Addison was, especially with Wentz there when he came back, he was riffing it. But yeah, the Vikings offense is kind of a in a cluster right now. So
Yeah.
it's worth the risk. He didn't have to give up a ton for him.
Yep.
We've seen what Jefferson can be when he's on. He has a quarterback and give him the ball. He's the best receiver in the league. But Jenny's obviously hoping that. But having to give up a 4th-round pick to get arguably the best receiver in football is it's a pretty good move.
Yeah, not bad. He's hoping he produces a little more, so we'll see. Up next, old Mr. Laska and another trade with Mortel. There's gonna be a lot of Mortel here down the stretch, but I know Laska felt like he had to make a move to stay competitive here, brother man. So he acquires Rice, who's
From
dude. I found it on Facebook.
those nipples.
Great nipples, great hair. I mean, just living the dream. Got the necklace on. I don't think that would fit around Mortel's neck here though.
No.
No chance. But Waddle's been a beast, dude, and Rice has looked great. So that was ended up being a great move for him.
This is a really good move, and this has, if I don't win, Rashi Rice for a keeper. I was a little surprised Mortel moved him just for that reason. I know he gets picks, but I would have held on to Rashi Rice because he's a wide receiver 1, and you wouldn't have had to give him up. But you get a 3rd-round pick out of it, so not the worst. But yeah, and then Waddle, since he's been great. Unfortunately, Laska's team, as we'll get to it, just hasn't put it together even with these guys. So
Right. Yeah. That's tough. That's tough. All right, up next, JP makes a move here and goes and gets Kittle from Mortel, sends a 4th over. No pick returned back for him, but he felt like he had to, he's right in the thick of it here. Had to go and bolster the squad with a top tier tight end.
yeah, I love this move. Didn't give up a ton. I think Kittle is, with the tight ends, they're still healthy. I think he's the 2nd best tight end out there. And JP doesn't make a lot of trades. You know,
Right.
he's very good at drafting. Is why he was a top. I think he was the number 1 in our previous power rankings. But
Yeah.
so a good move there. Doesn't give a ton. Gets a superstar there in George Kittle, who's just the biggest beauty.
Especially with Purdy back, like that connection is unbelievable.
I
So
wonder if that hurt Mortel a little bit, giving away a tight end, even though he had like 4 at one point.
it's a great question. That's a great question. And I believe this is the last one. Costell going for more. So Addison back on the trade block. Addison and Devonta Smith go over to Costell for a 4th and 6th-round pick swap.
Yeah, DJ Moore's kind of been super disappointing all year long. He's kind of fallen for sure behind Roma Dunze in the Bears lineup. But then, they've kind of done a good job spreading the ball around. So, and Josh Downs, I think there's a lot of hype. There's always a lot of hype around him, but Michael Pittman kind of continues. And then, what's his face? The white guy for the Colts.
Alex Fierce.
I think he's white, but
Yeah.
anyway, so he's kind of fallen down. So don't mind moving that. Devonta Smith, kind of sneaky good. He's the number 1 in Philadelphia. If you watch Eagles football this year, he is their main target. So I like that move for Jake. Obviously, he and Laska are on the outside looking in at the moment. So we shall see if these will pay off for him. But he didn't have to give up a huge price to get these guys.
Well said. Well said. All right. So I'll bring this in real quick because it's kind of fun. Looking at some of these people that have made some moves. So I already have a pre-board for next year up, ready to go. A couple things that stand out. Early seller with lostness, like having having he's gonna have 2 first and 3 seconds. Nasty.
That's pretty good.
Kelly Dog with his own first and then 2 additional seconds. Really fun stuff. What's going on?
Oh, Schultz almost had a touchdown. But Davis, the Giraffe Mills, didn't.
Dude, what a neck. What a neck.
Man,
But this
him and Mike Glennon.
Mike Glennon, dude.
Freaking long necks, man.
It's unreal. But go ahead and if you go to the league website and click on the draft boards, you can see this preview if you want to take a quick look. Obviously, the position and order will change as the final standings hit, but this shows Hanrahan, the only one not making a move here.
Yeah. you just saw my face, you would have just seen my boy Woody Marks just lay out the blitzer. It was pretty sick.
What a guy.
And then they don't even reward him the next play. That's just, that's just bad football there. You got to reward the guy for lighting up a blitzer.
Leon would agree. All
Yeah,
right.
Hanrahan staying pat. I was actually a little surprised just because this week, he hadn't made any moves. He's, record wise up there. I thought maybe he would go after, whether it be a tight end. I think he's got Kelsey though, so he's probably fine. But I don't even know who he has. What am I doing? I'm just talking nonsense over here.
You do that sometimes.
Oh, yeah, he's fine, but I thought maybe he would go after one more guy. But he's kind of a sneaky good team, which
he does
to later.
Yes. All right. So as you mentioned, Jenny 11-0, hell of a run. Least points against with 951. It's not even close. You just always wonder how the hell that happens. But
we kind of had this last year. Now Jenny's won every game, but if you remember, Nick Hanrahan was like one of the lowest last year. He was like had the same kind of points against, but just didn't score as much, and ended up missing out on the playoffs. But yeah, this is an insane run by Jenny.
Yeah, and poor Kelly Dog, obviously down here at the bottom with one win, but people are just taking advantage of him. 1,273 points against, highest in the league. He finally supplanted you over the last couple weeks as
that's pooped on a lot.
Yeah, poor guy. That's too bad.
That's how I felt the first 5 weeks of the season, where it's like it seems like everyone was putting up like 120 on me.
Yeah, kind of funny, but Jenny's obviously safe, and then from there you got the 6 and 5s, 5 of us here, and then a couple people at 7 and 4. So it's time to kind of break down where these folks are falling.
Sure.
All right. Managing. I think we can go through the first few kind of quick here, but we had both consensus-wise, we had Lostness coming in at number 12. That's what happens when you sell like he did, and he's going to struggle to score points, but he's got to be looking forward to next year's draft already.
Yeah, I mean, you saw that draft board. He's got 2 first-round picks, 3 second-round picks, so I think just not a ton there on keeper value. Like, he doesn't have a lot of, maybe Byshell Tootin, maybe Kyle Manangai or whatever. Kind of maybe the Bears move on from DeAndre Swift. Who knows? But when you have that much firepower early, it'll be nice. I think the big swing and miss happened for him was RJ Harvey. I think he took him in like the 2nd round, and he's just been a dud.
Yeah.
Which hurts because he had a lot of hype coming into the season. Matthew Golden hasn't really done much.
No.
Obviously, he's traded away CeeDee Lamb, who, of course, when he had him, he got hurt. So that hurts, and traded Josh Allen. So a lot of his big firepower is gone. He's kind of got a bunch of guys that are kind of split backfields. God, come on, Woody, get in the fucking end zone.
But yeah, man, he's gonna have fun next draft season. A lot of capital here. That's gonna be fun to watch.
That draft board prediction of the final standings.
I just did it based on maybe current stats or.
Wow, someone's a little full of himself.
It just was easier to do it that way, All right, enough of that. Moving on, we had Kelly Dog coming in at number 11, lowest scoring points. There's not a lot going on. Tough year, but again, just like Lostness, he's going to have draft capital coming into next year, a couple extra second-round picks, so looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think he's got to love seeing what he's gotten out of Travion Henderson the last couple of weeks. He finally had his time. Jalen Hurts is a quarterback. I think just roster-wise, obviously, I think he's got a little more firepower than Mr. Lostness. And, yeah, and he's got good draft picks. And I think, Travion Henderson, I believe, is like a 3rd-round keeper. So he's got some upside heading into next year, as long as I don't win, and I gotta give Kelly Dog a shout out. I think we made a fair deal for Nico Collins or for Drake London. I know a lot of other people were mad about it, but at the time Drake London wasn't doing a ton. So I gave up a second round pick for him, and hoping that leads me to glory again.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone can ever forgive him if you do win. But as you said, at the time he was like a middling wide receiver too.
Yeah, he pretty
So
much had like one big week, and two, my team was not what my team is right now. So
yeah, yeah. So and then next up at number 10 for both of us was Mortel. Kind of funny, he was previously number 6. So you know what a difference a few weeks makes for this squad. Obviously, he just made the decision to sell. This team looks a lot different than it did. I think we talked about it before and brought it up. It probably started maybe with the keepers at the draft, and then you just didn't have a lot to start with. I mean, Baker's, I think he started better than he's been
yeah, Baker's kind of crashed
lately.
down to earth.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good player. Not saying he didn't get some value out of there. I just think, and obviously hindsight's always 2020, but he could have kept Rome Dunze for a 7, and I believe Rome's like a wide receiver 2 this year. And then he could have also kept Garrett Wilson, who's obviously hurt now, but early in the season he was ripping it. So that would have changed a lot of fortunes. And then Justin Jefferson having, probably his worst career year due to some just terrible quarterback play didn't help his first round pick. So, bit the bullet. Still has, Judkins, who's, who hasn't done a ton lately. He's had some tough
Yeah.
matchups, and Taylor Gabriel in there is just a little tough, but I think there's enough there to like for him for in the future. And then, maybe Sean Tucker obviously had that monster game last week.
Yeah.
Maybe he carves out a bigger role with Tampa, or if he moves to a different team, that could be a potential player too. But it also just kind of shows you I was a little surprised he moved Rashi Rice just so maybe him and Judkins. I believe Judkins had to be a late round keeper. I can't remember exactly where Rice was. I want to say it was like in that 4, 5, 6 range.
Yeah, Judkins was in the 10th round.
Yeah, and Rashi Rice was a 4. So to me, I just think I would have kept those two and moved forward with anyone else and set myself up well. But maybe he was like, I need to hook up these teams so that way at least we have a true draft like this next year. So
Yes. Yes. All right, cool. So rounding out the bottom 4 is Mr. Clark.
that's
Got a record of that's
Doctor.
that's Dr. Clark, not Mr. Clark. Um, he's got Khalil Shakir going tonight, 1.9 points. It's kind of fun, live scoring. Um, well, yeah, same deal. There was, some selling here. And it is what it is. Here he is. I think he's got potential to score some points in the the fight for the number 1 overall draft pick. This is definitely a team a step above, I think, what we've seen. With Swift and Odunze and Brock Bowers, Rico Dowdle. There's some cool quality guys here.
Yeah, the Brock Bowers injury right away just really hurt because Brock Bowers, what he did last year, he's pretty much a wide receiver 1. So immediately losing that for a long time hurt. I still of the mindset that Leon shouldn't have sold and should have bought. I think he has a deep enough roster where I think had he just been a little more aggressive, I think he'd be fighting for a spot right now, especially with the emergence of Rico Dowdle. But he's got an extra second round pick next year. He's got Dowdle, Bowers, Roma Dunze, all 3 of them could be pretty good keeper options for him. So uh, he should be back in action next year. But I would say of the bottom 4, he's definitely the favorite among those 4. And I would say, depending on what happens, he'll be contending for that first overall pick as well.
Yeah, agreed. All right, we move into the contenders here, and at consensus number 8, he was. What do we got?
Pick 6 Texans, but there's a flag, I believe, on the return.
Oh boy.
That's mine for you, Josh Allen.
All right, so this person was number 2 in the previous rankings, dropping all the way down to number 8. Where are you? Where are you, Mr. McGinnis? Oh, it's the best. Man, when we talked about him last time, it was like, dude's got James Cook, Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley. Like, it's gonna be unstoppable, but just hasn't been able to separate from the pack here with the squad. Made a few moves. Um, obviously, at any given time, this team can blow up, but as you mentioned before, him and Alaska still on the outside looking in as it stands today.
Yeah, and I think, Costello acquired Saquon, so I think we just looked at his running backs. We always kind of said his receivers were going to be a question mark. Obviously, he goes and gets Devonta Smith and Jordan Addison, which I think are improvements, at least gives them options. But since our last, I believe we did it after week 5 uh,
Yeah.
last time. So in the past 6 weeks, I don't know what his record is during those weeks, but his score against the median is 2-4. But then the 2 weeks that he did have beat the median, he was the top scorer and the second highest scorer. But he's had 69 points last week, 73 the week before, 4 games under 100 points. So he just, even though on paper I feel like he still looks pretty good. His team just hasn't put it together.
Yeah, agreed. Jacoby Brissett, Michael Wilson, guys you wouldn't expect. Yeah, obviously he's got people on bye here. So he'll have McConkey coming back in. Um,
Hey, Jacoby Brissett, man, he threw for like 47 completions last week.
I know he's actually kind of been ripping.
So yeah, I mean,
Look,
I think my stuff, Castell, he's in 8th place, so he kind of fits there. Scoring, he's the 8th highest scoring team versus the median. He's got the 8th best record. I do think his roster is depth wise is pretty good.
yeah,
And I think upside wise is pretty good. But because he has Saquon, who hasn't gotten going really all year, he does have James Cook, who had a touchdown tonight and is capable. He's got Bijan, who's an absolute stud. And um, so I think those three if they can have some big monster games. But this is a big week because he does not have Herbert this week. He does not have Quentin Johnson. He does not have Ladd. And he does not have Chris Rodriguez.
but
Um,
he does get to play Kelly, so that helps.
Yeah, winning wise, he's probably going to be fine, but him and Laska are going to need some help because they are. We'll get him and Laska are on the outside looking in, and total points wise, they're both a little out of it. So
Right, so they're hoping for they need some of these other folks at 6 and 5 to lose. And they gotta, I mean, is it almost at the point where they almost have to maybe win out?
yeah, I mean we'll start looking at the schedule here at the end.
Yeah.
Just there are some big intriguing matchups coming up, but yeah, I mean Jake. The thing I love about Jake is he never gives in. He never just sells. He goes in, he makes aggressive moves, and when he does sell, it's usually to set someone up to take down the Empire. So I think he was debating whether to sell or not, and just ultimately decided, you know what, I'm right there record wise. If I win out, I'm probably in the playoffs. So
Yeah, that's the whole goal, right? Just get in the
it
dance, see what happens.
can happen once you get in. I mean, you saw
Yep.
my team last year. I was not a super team, and then we got to the playoffs, and every guy just decided, all right, we're gonna go off. So it was awesome.
Yeah, great. All right, coming in at number 7, we both had him at 7. He was previously ranked 5. Good on the Cobb, Dan Laska.
Yeah, Alaska's it's just a weird. He's kind of like Costell, where he's just kind of had a weird season because he had a decent record. I like the moves he's made, but against the median score this year, he would be 3-8. He's 1-5 over the last 6. Hasn't scored over 100 points in 4 weeks. Obviously, he's had some buys and some injuries and whatnot, but just been a really weird year for Laska for a team that I think we all thought was going to be, pretty formidable.
Yeah, you can kind of point to a lot of different guys on this team. Like DK Metcalf certainly hasn't lived up to what we thought he could do. Genty has had flashes, a couple big games here or there, but he can definitely sneak in a dud, right? And then Pickens has been great for him. Sucks that Daniels was out. I know everyone was expecting him to be great, but he's with injuries, really struggled. So if this team gets in, there's enough firepower to be dangerous, just like Costell's, I believe, especially with Rice and with Waddle. So gotta win.
Yeah, I mean Dan. So he's in seventh place record wise. He's the seventh highest scoring team, so it's kind of fitting right in with that. He's actually the fourth worst record against the median of anyone. His roster depth wise, he is right in the middle of the pack there, kind of that 6-7 range, in my estimation. But I do think he's got a lot of upside on this roster. And that's where I think I have him slightly ahead of Costell in another, just because I look at this team and Ashton Genty, he's had some bad games, but you can see the talent there. Josh Jacobs has been really good. You have to. I mean, he hasn't gotten to play with a. He had Rashi Rice last week, but he had a dud. I have a
Yeah,
feeling he can bounce back. George Pickens, I thought maybe he would kind of slow down um, with CD back, but he's been pretty solid for obviously a big game last week. And then Christian Watson kind of has asserted himself as kind of the top receiver for Green Bay. He's not doing anything crazy, but he's got a different gear to him than the rest of the Packers receivers. I think there's some upside there. Jalen Waddle, he'll be back. The big key for him is he needs Josh Jacobs' injury to be minimal so he can have him and Genty out there. Jordan Mason just doesn't get enough play, even
yeah.
though he should. And then Jared Goff, that Lions offense can go off at any time, so I don't mind that. He's a good quarterback, led me to the title last year. Kyle Pitts probably the weakness, but maybe Kirk Cousins back. I don't remember what he did with Kirk Cousins last year, but maybe that uh, improves his production a little bit. But I think Josh Jacobs' health, and then he has Jacobs healthy. Then he has Metcalf, Rice, Pickens, and probably Jalen Waddle. That's a pretty formidable starting lineup.
Oh yeah, for sure, for
But like
sure.
like Costell, he wins out. I think he's in the playoffs, but he still might need a little help depending on how the rest of the results go.
Yep. He's got uh he's got me
Ooh,
this week. How about that?
yeah, Bills. Kickoff return. Suck it, Josh Allen.
Oh, perfect. Love to see that. All right, so top six. So we both had the next guy at number six. He was previously number four in our power rankings. He is a 7-4 team. That's Mr. Hanrahan. Cool runnings. And they are got Nico going tonight, 4.6 points. Got a couple quarterbacks, Lamar, Matthew Stafford. Some stuff I like here, some stuff that's questionable, but I mean, obviously top six solid squad, 7-4 record.
Yeah, I mean, record wise, he's probably with being a game up on the rest of us. A win this week makes it pretty. That's going to be pretty tough to catch him. So that'd be a big win for him. I think he's got to hope that Davis Mills keeps playing because Nico Collins has been way better with Davis Mills. But yeah, third place overall, sixth highest scoring team. So honestly, our power rankings have fit right in line with the scoring. But by this time of the season, that's a pretty good indicator of the team you have.
Yep.
Against the median, he's fourth best team against the median. So I think that's something where I said he's kind of sneaky good. Roster depth wise is a little lacking compared to some others. I think his upside is also a little lacking. I mean, um, he has Lamar, but Lamar has been injured. So Stafford's been a pretty good fill, and it's kind of hard not to play Stafford. But I think
Yeah.
Derrick Henry, he's got to get going if Hanrahan wants to win the title. I think he's been decent, but he hasn't been the King Henry. Although he's starting to heat up a little bit. There must be some snow happening in Vermont or something.
Yeah, yeah.
But obviously, the biggest disappointment on this team is AJ Brown. He's been an absolute bust. Wide receiver
Brown like a turd.
7. It's a guy you take in the second round, and he's a wide receiver 4. and just really hasn't. It's not like he's getting a lot of catches, but no touchdowns. He's just not getting much at all. So
Right. Yeah, that's just weird.
that's why I was a little surprised that maybe he didn't go, talk to Leon about a receiver, or, someone just to see if he could make a move. But because he's got two good quarterbacks, could he use that as a swap with someone else? And
Yeah, man. Javante Williams is also just still so funny. Had a couple of lower end games, but um, who would have thought? Who would have thought? Definitely a part of his run here. Um,
I mean,
but yeah,
the
good.
thing you gotta love about Cowboys players though is their defense. Maybe it's better now. They got Quinn Williams, but they're so bad. They're kind of like the Bengals, where they just have to score points. So you gotta love having Cowboys players because
Yeah,
there's just so much. There's so many opportunities there for them.
right. It's hilarious. Um, all right, so that is number 6, sitting at 7-4. Pretty high chance to make the playoffs um, in this format. So, all right, coming in next. So we've been basically dollar for dollar on our ranking so far. Here's our first disagreement by one spot. You had this guy at 4. I had him at 5. That is also a 7-4 team, Mr. Adam John Broik.
Ooh, speaking of that, Nico Collins nearly broke that, and now he's down. I'm guessing he's got the wind knocked out of him. But yeah,
Ooh.
Broik, he has got a super deep roster. Um, he's in second place, a win, and he's almost guaranteed to be in just because he has the point advantage over so many people. Scoring, he's the fourth highest scoring team. He's kind of middle of the pack against the median. Sixth best record against the median, which that just if you're a top 6 scorer week in week out, I think that's a very big strength. You're not getting by being lucky. Um, but roster wise and upside, I think you look at his team. You know, Joe Burrow is going to be back. That'll be interesting if he gets off the Drake May train.
Right.
Especially because he's got enough Bengals where I think he's going to get the Joe Burrow points anyways. But I think Chase Brown, I think, is better than now that they have Flacco or they get Burrow back. I think his value is way better. I mean, look at those last 4 weeks.
Yeah.
That's pretty much nearly in line with when they've had Joe Flacco, like truly playing.
Well, I
Uh,
think his first game was against Pittsburgh, if I recall, because wasn't Tomlin all pissed off at the at the Browns for trading Flacco to them?
yeah, they might have played against the Packers, but I can't
Oh,
remember.
it's right. Well, I can't remember. That was 100 years ago.
Yeah, but so I think he's better. I think Jameer Gibbs is obviously a superstar. Igbuka's been he's been okay lately.
Oh
He's gonna
wow, really? One good game in the last what? 1, 2, 3 had a bye. Wow. Okay.
yeah. So that's like my one area of concern, but I think he's got I think that Tampa offense. I think they have some. He's their main guy with Mike Evans out, Chris Godwin's been out, Bucky Irving's been out. Chris Olave, like I said, we were kind of talking what has he done? He had a big game with Shuck there, I guess, but he's just, I mean, look at the amount of targets that guy. They don't even ESPN doesn't even give you targets. No, they do. So he's getting a lot of targets, and New Orleans should be losing a lot. So I like that. Ferguson's been he was off to a hot start. He's kind of just he's not really an explosive playmaker as his
Well,
last
he
few
was a lot
catches.
better without CD Lamb, right? And then
So that's you can definitely see that. So that's a little worrisome. Um, but then he has Jamar Chase, who will be back after this week. No more spitting, Jamar. And then
what the hell?
the Cortland Sutton trade. He just hasn't done much. He's
Yeah, that's such a weird. The
got
Broncos is such a weird team.
yeah. So I like Broik's team top to bottom. I think he's got you look at I think he's got good running backs. He's got plenty of receivers. How good are they? That's kind of the argument you have to have. But I mean, technically, he has 3 wide receiver ones on his team. So, and
Yeah.
Rashad White's value pretty much rests on Bucky Irving. So if Bucky Irving is back soon, Rashad White he loses a lot of his value. Kayshon Boutte, he's been not Booty, but coming back from injury, but I also think Stephon Diggs has kind of asserted himself. He's gotten healthier and healthier. But really like his team. He's probably regretting not playing the Texans D's. They didn't get the pick six, so he's probably fine with that. But good solid defense, I think, to have for the playoffs if he can make it.
If he can make it.
And
He is.
another thing is if Garrett Wilson comes back into the playoffs, that would be a huge boost for him. I
Is that an
don't know
option?
how likely that is because the Jets season's pretty much over, but you never know.
Never know. All right. All right. Next up, previously number 7, coming in at consensus number 4. You had him at 5. I had him at 2. I think my formula took into account the wins and the potential in the guaranteed buy essentially. So that's Mr. Jenny, 11-0. He has to win one game to make the championship, right? I think that's how the math works out. If
Yes,
you
good.
if you
Yeah,
have a buy, so he's going to be in the top 4 no matter what, which is huge, right? So that aside, we know he's been playing good defense, but this team does have some talent. McCaffrey has been. It's hard to believe that he's been able to handle the amount of workload. When he's putting up 30 plus point games every other week, that's pretty good. He's got Purdy back. I think he's got a good track record with Purdy here. So
crazy
Tennessee.
thing is you look at Christian McCaffrey's numbers there, and he's not even the top scoring running back, which is mind blowing.
Well, some other team has a guy named Jonathan Taylor that's been pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even like factor in that he needs to win, 2 games, but I think my big thing with Jenny is, he's the 5th highest scoring team. So it's not like he's, dominant by any means. He's been very lucky that I think teams against him are averaging like 85 points a week.
Nice.
Um, but he has the 5th best record against the median, so he's not, it's not like he's also scoring in the top 6, more times than not. Yeah, where's Jenny right here? He should be, if he went against the median, he'd be 7-4, and he's 5-1 the last 6 weeks. So he has been better the last 6 weeks than he was the first 5. And he's been pretty good. He has 2 down weeks under 100, even though one of those technically was above the median. Yeah, I mean, he's got a good team. He's got Josh Allen, who you saw last week. That guy is capable of just putting up, 42 points, insane. McCaffrey's Mr. Consistent. Devontae Adams has been awesome. Justin Jefferson is the key to this team.
I'd say Jefferson and then getting Hampton back potentially too.
Yeah, Hampton. See, the reason why I wasn't as high up is like he's had Kamani Vidal, and Vidal's kind of been every other week really good.
Yeah.
But like I also think that's kind of speaks volumes to the Chargers' offensive line as well. Like, and weirdly, he's had the bad games against the bad teams. Well, the Vikings are a bad team. So he had a good game, but like Pittsburgh had a big game against, but then the Titans and whatnot, he doesn't. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way you put it in there is that he just needs to win one game to be in the championship. Like he's already into the Final Four. I get why you have him a little higher, but I still think ultimately he's going to be playing one of these teams that consistently scores more than he does.
Yeah, I think pound for pound. I mean, I don't know if Roy Canahan, Laska, or Costell. I don't know if there's a ton of difference from this squad to theirs. Like, maybe even one of those are could be even better on paper, but I mean, they're going to be in good shape.
So if he has, let's say he has a Chargers running back in the flex spot. Alvin Kamara hasn't been anything special this year.
Right.
Marvin Harrison obviously had appendicitis. When does he come back? He was obviously with Jacoby Brissett, especially the last couple of weeks, been pretty good. So I like this team, but I just think the other teams that I had, I liked them more personally, and my
Yeah.
data favored the other four teams. So
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. But yeah, Jefferson's huge. Like, because if you can get him to being what he has been with McCaffrey, with Josh Allen, like you got
yeah,
three superstars like blowing it up.
and that's what I said. I think that's the key because
Yeah.
if Jefferson turns into the guy that's 8 receptions, 100 yards, and a touchdown, that's 20 points there that you're getting. But he just hasn't been that way. I mean, there's a reason why he's wide receiver 16 with a terrible quarterback all year.
Yeah. Well said. All right, coming in next. So that was four. Number three. So I had this guy, previously ranked eighth. I had him at four. You had him at two. It is yourself, the highest scoring squad in the realm. And again, this is all, for my rankings, this is all data driven for the most part, so not subjective, as I believe yours is too. So, here you are, man. You're on a 3-game winning streak, which is nice, but you've also had the point lead, which is better. I've been chipping away at you, but you still got me by like 40 some. You got to be feeling good about your chances to make the playoffs. How are you feeling about the squad overall?
No, very good. Bucky Irving and Drake London are kind of the wild cards right now. If I get both of them back healthy, I think my team is as good as any. Um, I'm in fourth place by record. I'm the highest scoring team. I have the third best record against the median, including going 6-0 the last 6 weeks. 5 of the last 6 weeks, I've been the second highest scoring team each week. I've had 1 week under 100 points all year. Um, I think one, I my team kind of has what I say, like I have like two trump cards. I have Jonathan Taylor, similar like Jenny with Christian McCaffrey, like just an absolute machine. He had one bad game
Yeah.
and then gone
For
with 48. Um, and then I have Trey McBride, who he's the number one tight end, but Jacoby Brissett took over when they played Indianapolis. You look at those 5 weeks, look where he's at. He's finally, I mean, he's scored touchdowns in 5 straight games after not scoring a receiving touchdown until the championship week last year.
look at
You,
his
you went
targets
with his
too.
point totals with Jacoby Brissett. He's averaging 20 points per game. That would make him, not counting quarterbacks, the third highest scoring fantasy player behind Jonathan Taylor and Christian McCaffrey.
Wow.
I pretty much have, yeah, he's a tight end, but he's a wide receiver one.
Yeah.
And Tet McMillan is starting to break out. Obviously had a monster game last week, but you just look at the targets the guy gets.
Yeah.
And the Panthers kind of, I don't know how much you pay attention to the Panthers, but they kind of talked about they're finding different ways to use him. Stephon Diggs has been just a consistent, he doesn't score a ton of touchdowns, but he's kind of like a guaranteed like 10 points every week.
Yeah.
That's what I need in that spot. Um, Juwan Jennings has been serviceable the last couple of weeks. Now that he's finally healthy.
Yeah.
Um, but if I have Drake London playing, Juwan Jennings is on my bench. And I think that's a pretty dang good team, top to bottom. Um, Obviously, if I still had Cam Skadaboo, like I would be number one. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, I think I mean
Yes.
Bucky Irving. I need him to get back. If he doesn't come back, I will. I don't think I'm winning at all. I need that second explosive running back. Woody Marks is basically just like he'll get you 8 to 10 points, and then if he gets a lucky touchdown, sweet. But nothing explosive. And then quarterback, I scooped up Brock Purdy, Jordan Love, and the Packers offense have been huge disappointments. But I like the Niners offense, and I think Brock Purdy, he had a good week last week, looked healthy. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think I have a good team, but I'm not as deep as others. But that's mostly because people don't trade with me, which understandably so. But I have myself number two because I've been the most consistent scoring team in the league. So to me, there's got to something that's got to count for something. And I've been doing that without Bucky Irving and then without Cam Skadaboo for many weeks, and my team's still scoring because some of the guys that maybe had slower starts, like Diggs and Tet McMillan, Woody Marks, are starting to put up some points, and then Trey McBride, he's just been unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah, been unreal. Yeah, I do. I don't. We don't really know. I mean, London would be back for the playoffs regardless, but is Cousins going to be able to get him the ball? I guess could be a concern. You hope, for you, you hope so. You hope that's not an issue. And then yeah, you already beat the Bucky everything to the ground, so that's the pinnacle for you. Technically it was a kind of a consensus ranking tie for number three and number two with the next guy here. So technically a tie for second, with formerly power ranking owner of number one spot, the perennial the perennial playoff appearance king of the Molar Bears. So they come in at basically tied with you for the number two spot here. We know we've talked about them being powered by their receivers with Puka and Amon Ra, and now that with the Bengals having a competent quarterback and maybe Joe Burrow coming back having T Higgins is huge, and then getting Kittle with Brock Purdy back in the saddle is absolutely huge for this squad. So I think you can point to probably the running backs here as being questionable. Like ETN is still the guy there. Brees Hall with the Jets is just a it's just a bad offense, but I mean just a solid squad overall.
Yeah, I mean, Mahomes has been what we used to expect out of Mahomes. He had a rough couple of rough games the last 2 weeks, but he's also played
Tough.
well, maybe the best defense in football last week, and then the Bills. That's never an easy game. Before that, just absolutely ripping it. Amon Ra's been great. Uh, Puka has been unreal. Then he has T Higgins to go with that. I think the key here will be J.K. Dobbins for him. His running backs are a little weak. Um, you know, because Emmanuel Wilson, he's just a backup. ETN, he's losing some touches to Baishal Tootin. Brees Hall's on a bad offense. So, ETN's been solid, but Baishal Tootin last week had a lot of touches. But I think getting Kittle here makes a big difference. Um,
Yeah.
it's 2 weeks. I mean, you see what he can do. He's an absolute beast. So yeah, I mean, I think the top three, in my opinion, were all very close. I know you had Jenny up there, but I think between JP, myself, and our consensus number one, who's in this chat, they're all pretty close. I just ultimately, I thought my consistent scoring, just the way the team's been looking the last 6 weeks, was what put myself over the edge over JP. But still, I mean, he was preseason number one. He was number one after 5 weeks, and he's number two now. Just a model of consistency.
Yeah. Yeah. This team is it's scary, man. It is scary because he's gonna be. I mean, it's still to be determined who gets the number two seed, right? Because that'll be based on record. And there's a couple teams that are at 7-4. This squad, a lot of us are at 6-5, but this team in the first round is not going to be fun to play if they do in fact make it, which they probably should.
And another thing to highlight about JP is him and yourself are tied for the best record against the median. You guys against the median. You're 9-2 for the year. I was 8-3. Hanrahan was 8-3.
Interesting.
Um, so that leads us into number one.
The old overhands, previously ranked number 9. A lot has changed. That was before I made the move for CD Lamb. So that's certainly helped. But man, JSN, what a hit. What a hit he's been. No games under 10 points. Love what he's doing over there. Been a revelation. And also HN, right? You mentioned Jonathan Taylor. You mentioned McCaffrey. HN's not extremely far behind him. He's just fun to watch. It's fun to watch just like the stats come through. Like, one catch through the first like quarter and you're like, what's going on? But then all of a sudden he just starts popping big plays left and right. So um I like what I'm doing. I like where this team's at. The record makes me a little scared, but the points are creeping up. Depth wise, I feel like Debo should be worse than he is. I feel like he gets a lot of random touchdowns for no reason.
A lot of random garbage time points.
Yeah, he does. And then Jameson Williams, he's kind of been playing the last few weeks, kind of what I drafted him to be. So I love to see the involvement there, and that's going to be a big piece to my potential success come the playoff time.
Yeah, I mean, you're second highest scoring team. You're the hottest team in the league right now. You're 6-0 against the media in the last 6 weeks. You're averaging like 130 some points the last 6 weeks, which is really impressive. And then top to bottom, you have, I mean, Dak Prescott's always an underrated fantasy quarterback. The way the Cowboys' offense and their defense are, he's probably going to be productive. Kyron Williams, he's not flashy, but he just gets you. He just gets you points.
Yeah, and he does.
He'll have the occasional ones, but he's a great goal line running back. I think my own, and then you have Achan there. Hunt, he's okay, but obviously fully healthy. I don't know if he's in your starting lineup. JSN's been unreal. CeeDee Lamb will be unreal. Tyler Warren's been great. Jameson Williams has shown a lot of flash. And then it's going to kind of come down to that flex spot for you. I mean, Parker Washington's been pretty solid. Obviously, Brian Thomas has been a huge disappointment, but he's got so much talent that, and last year in the fantasy playoffs, he was one of the MVPs. His problem is he kind of just forgot how to catch. He doesn't know how to catch the ball anymore because he
That's
gets,
a problem when you play wide receiver, I've heard.
yeah, you kind of have to be able to catch. So, yeah, I mean, and then Jackson Dart is, depending on a matchup, he's been really fun. Obviously runs the ball a lot, and yeah, Achan's been awesome. He just touches the ball so much. So he's really fun, and yeah, I mean, this team's going to be very tough to beat. I think along you and myself. Um, Obviously, if you surpass me in points, odds are is because you're winning too.
Yeah.
Um, so I think you and I are. I'd say you, myself, Broik, Jenny. Um, I think we ought to be feeling good. I think JP's far enough in front of everyone else points wise. So honestly, so I think some of us are a little more comfortable. Hanrahan's going to be the one he's really got to focus on wins because he's not going to be able to catch any of us in points. So he's just got to keep winning to make it. But so there we are. There's our power rankings after 11 weeks, heading into the final 3 weeks, post trade deadline. Um, so yeah, you can kind of look at where we had everyone else. Jenny's probably gonna be all butthurt because I had him number 5 and like love you for having him number 2, but